Broadcasting live from the offices of policebackground.net. This is the Police Applicant Podcast with your host, Ken Roybal.
Hey, welcome everybody to another episode of the Police Applicant Podcast. This is episode 95. Donovan, you like how I remembered that time? I wrote that down.
I know, and I was quickly looking just to see.
We don't have any announcements or anything today. We're going to get right into the episode. This is going to be on YouTube and on the podcast. And we were special welcome to Sheriff Kozak from the Laramie County Sheriff's Office in Wyoming. Welcome, sir.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I have been perusing your YouTube channel, and you have all kinds of good stuff on the YouTube. I really like it where you did a little play on words for your podcast, and it's called the Pod, capital P-O-D, cast. Little play on words there. That was pretty cool.
Yeah,
but you
from the pod podcast. So
from the
we
pod
did from
podcast.
within a jail pod. Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. You got a really cool website there, but we're going to be talking about a lot of things. We're going to be talking about the Laramie County Sheriff's Office recruitment efforts, and especially we're going to focus a bit on you got Denver's panties in a bunch over there in Colorado with a billboard that you put up. And I just got a kick in the pants over that. So we're going to talk about a lot of those things. And let's get started with an intro to Sheriff Kozak. Tell us about how you got into law enforcement and your years of service and your assignments and experience before you became sheriff.
Well, 36 years experience. And how I got into it was really, when I was a kid, I watched the show, which the new cops right now, they have no idea what this show is. It's Chips. And so I wanted to be a motorcycle cop. I really wanted to drive fast, have red lights, and drive fast on a motorcycle. So that was the ultimate reason. Of course, once I started the job, I really loved it and kept going, progressed through the ranks, and did a lot of great things in my career. So I started out in Arizona, Mesa, Arizona Police Department, rather large department, about 1,000 cops. Retired from there, became a police chief in Colorado in a ski resort town, and then left there to find a more conservative area. And so I wound up in Cheyenne, Wyoming as a police chief for about 11 years. Retired. I wasn't doing much for a couple years. And my wife says, "You got to get a job." So I was like, all right, I'll run for sheriff. So I was elected. Been in office now almost a year and a half as sheriff.
Yeah. Donovan, I don't know if you know it or not, but Mesa, Arizona Police, the police chief used to be George Gascon.
Oh, I did not know that one. Okay.
Yeah.
That is right. I left right before he came in. So I got to miss all that fun.
You dodged a bullet on that one, and he's been leaving destruction everywhere he goes, but now he's in LA County. And so you did 35 years in Arizona?
20 years in Arizona, 22 with civilian time. So 20 years as a cop in Arizona, 4 years in Colorado, and about 12 and a half years here in Wyoming.
And whereabouts in Colorado?
Avon, Colorado. It's a ski resort town right next to Vail.
Cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you know Colorado.
Yep.
We're going to get into that a little bit too.
So I got a quick question, though. You said going way back that Chips was kind of that little push. Ponch or John, who was your idol?
Actually, John. I like John. And actually, because he was on the TV show, he was a rancher from Montana, I think. But he was actually a rancher in Wyoming. He grew up in Rawlins, Wyoming. He was a rancher in Wyoming. I don't know why the TV show put him from Montana instead of Wyoming, other than maybe people don't know where Wyoming's at or something. I don't know.
Could be.
So.
I I used to watch that show, but I don't know if I watched it just for the entertainment or, man, they used to do everything. They used to be on hang gliders, and I mean, and there was a crash. There was a horrific crash every show.
Yep.
But that was an interesting show. I don't know if they got a lot of recruitment out of it, but it was.
They did. Yeah.
It was
I can't
from CHP, and he said that was their number one recruitment tool back then.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's
I can't believe
the high patrolmen. They never wrote one ticket on the show. You notice that?
Oh yeah.
Yep. But you
Donovan?
guys are talking in the past tense, like, well, I used to watch. I'm still watching it. They have it replaying.
All right.
Is that on that Me TV or something like that?
Well, actually, I stream it online. It's one of the services has it for free, so I got to keep up to date. You know.
Yeah, that was a kick in the pants, man. But like you, I grew up on Adam 12, and you know, that was the go-to show for us. But so you decided you were going to move from Colorado. You went to Wyoming, and you're kind of lounging around, and your wife says, "You lazy bum, you need to get a job." So what made you say, you know, instead of going like the route that a lot of cops do, where they do security or they're a school resource officer, you just set your sights on the local. How did that come about to be the sheriff?
Oh, well, I got kind of frustrated because of COVID, the policies of the sheriff's office. They actually closed the jail to property offenders, nonviolent offenders. And so as a result, the property crime rate in the community where I live in Cheyenne went way high. Almost 100% increase in auto theft and burglaries, because the cops couldn't bring anyone to jail. And they had multiple warrants for their arrest for auto theft and burglary and shoplifting, and the cops couldn't do anything about it. So they just had to let them go because the jail was closed. And so that just made me mad. And I'm like, I want to run for sheriff and make sure that never happens again. So the jail is always open now. In fact, I've ordered a vacancy sign, hotel vacancy, neons. I'm going to put on top of the tower of the jail. It says vacancy. That's always going to be lit.
You know what I tell candidates, they go, what do you think about police departments versus sheriff's departments? And I always tell them, man, the police departments, the chiefs are appointed, the sheriffs are elected, and the sheriffs do their own thing, man. You guys in the sheriffs, when you're a sheriff, you don't have the political pull that, I mean, you don't have kind of handcuffed by the politicians, right?
That's right. Yeah, that's a big, because I've been a chief, 2 different departments now, and now I'm the sheriff. And to be honest with you, I always wore blue. I bleed blue, and then I became a sheriff, and it's, it's a lot better. I like it a lot better because you can do what's right, and you don't have to work for a politician. You just do what's right. You do what the community wants you to do. And as long as you're doing that, they're gonna support you. Like this Billboard thing. I never could have done that as a police chief. So,
Right.
And Donovan and I are up here in Washington State. I retired up in Washington State. Donovan's recently retired, but he retired out of here. But Washington, we find that the politicians in Olympia, they come up with some stupid stuff, and then they just implement it, and then it doesn't work, and they go, oh, let's redo it. But where you are in Wyoming, you guys are fairly conservative, and I think the backing is just something we don't know about.
Right.
Yeah. And yeah, you're exactly right. We got tremendous community support here. The community loved the Billboard. Here locally, they were just so thrilled with it. I get comments all the time on this Billboard thing. And great support. And didn't have that in Colorado when I was police chief there. Had it a little bit, in Arizona, people, but then that state changed as well to purple.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even blue now in Phoenix area where I worked. So, and then I come out here to Wyoming, and it is a big change. So much support. We've had, as police chief, I had several officer involved shootings. I had a couple here now as sheriff, and the community they don't have any questions. It's like, we trust our cops. It's all good to us. So, yeah.
Donovan, what's that about?
Who even knows what that would feel like?
Oh my gosh. We could spend a whole another podcast talking about the silly laws that they have, like in California and Washington. California is the worst. I mean, I came from California and it was not horrible when I left, but now since 2020, all the things that they're talking about, having civilians do traffic stops, and there's just all kinds of things that they've got going on there. And you know what? I want to get into the Billboard.
All right.
Before we do that, I want to play your recruitment video, and we could talk about that. Then we'll talk about the Billboard. But let's play this video for the recruitment for Laramie County.
Wyoming lawmen have always answered the call. Times may have changed, but our grit and determination remain the same. Become part of a proud tradition. Answer the call. Laramie County Sheriff's Office.
That is so badass.
Yeah.
I want to apply. Donovan, let's apply in Laramie County.
Right.
And so just that alone, the thing about that video is that you don't need, it just says, this is how it was, this is how it is now. The only difference is we don't ride horses, we drive cars. Other than that, it's all the same.
It's all the same. We go out, we catch bad guys, we put them in jail, we kick ass, we get the job done. In fact, in the brand that you see burned on the screen there, the brand stands for our vision, and one of the words there is no nonsense. The employees pick that, so no nonsense. So that the employees want to make sure we're no nonsense, we get the job done, and so going back to our heritage, and it hasn't changed. So we're still. In fact, it was funny when I became sheriff. Like I said, just about a year and a half ago, when I get in, I started asking, hey, what do we need to do for the future? What number one thing people wanted? You won't believe this. This is such an easy thing to fix. They said, can we wear cowboy hats?
Cool.
Yep.
So now, so as part of the uniform now, we gave everyone a voucher at the cowboy hat store for $120. So all employees now go get their cowboy hat. So county buys it for you.
That's pretty cool. I think when I see, like on the news or something like that, and you see the sheriff's departments or like Texas or those types of places where they have the cowboy hats, and they get out of the car with their cowboy hat on, and I just don't even want to talk back to a deputy sheriff wearing a cowboy hat, because that's just no nonsense to me.
Yep, no nonsense. So it's funny too. We have a podcaster here that does chases calls, police calls, and shows up on traffic stops calls, and at a distance he films. And there's been a couple episodes where like PD's on the scene, and then a deputy shows up, puts on the hat, and you can see the viewers on the comments for the live podcast. They start commenting, "Oh shit, he's in trouble now. Sheriff just got there."
That's the way it is, and I think that's half the battle, because you probably watch the videos that Donovan and I watch in the news and the YouTube and all that, where the first thing they start pushing back and hassling the police officers when they stop them, and the police officers got to take it and blah blah blah. And I really feel like in areas like yours where it's no nonsense policing, you guys, I don't think you take a lot of flack from traffic stops, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, we follow the Constitution, so absolutely. But you're right. Yeah, the cops here get to do their job. Yeah.
Donovan, in Washington, are the sheriffs like that?
Depends upon what part of the state. If you're on the eastern part of the state, it's a whole different world than the western side. But I mean, I know the two big sheriff's departments on the west side of the state, they just got approved for cowboy hats. So maybe that will change things. I doubt it because one of the sheriffs is appointed. So,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a weird thing for me. I tell people I live in the middle of the state in a county we call it Free America because it's a conservative county.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things about your billboard that I love. I'm going to pull that billboard up because I just got a kick. Let's get into this billboard because I just have so much fun. I got so many questions about this.
Well, I got a quick question. Do your guys, do all your staff wear cowboy boots with the hat? I mean, because like in my county here, they get cowboy hats, but they wear the boots along right with it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they can, except for the men and women working patrol. They like to wear the regular combat, the tactical boots just for traction and stuff. But they're allowed to wear cowboy boots. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So let's. Who is it? CBS. This is from CBS, and the headline reads: Wyoming Sheriff recruits Colorado officers with controversial. Why is it controversial? It's recruitment. Yeah. But this is the actual billboard. Work in Wyoming where breaking the law is still illegal and cops are funded. I thought that was the greatest thing. The first thing I saw that I thought that was the greatest thing I ever saw. There's two things about that, Sheriff. One is the billboard is a great recruitment tool. The other thing are the Denver people that got so upset about it. So let's talk about all that. So what made you pick Denver?
Well, we're pretty close to Denver. We're only about 100 miles away. Okay. So easy target for us, easy move for people to come here and work. And we hear all the news stories coming out of Denver as well. And also we go to training with the Colorado cops as well. And we hear their frustrations, especially the Denver cops. Mm-hmm. And especially, right at this time, I decided to do this when the mayor announced that they were taking $8 million from the police budget. And he said, it's just going to be furniture. So there's not going to be any impact on police service. And the cops are saying, that's BS. They've cut our training already. They've cut an academy class because of the funding went away. And I thought this is just perfect time for this billboard to go up. And, I was really hoping the cops in Colorado, maybe they've never thought of Laramie County in Wyoming. So maybe now they should take a look at us. And this is a great way to get their attention. Mm-hmm. So that was what it was. And so I ordered the billboard, and it took about 2 weeks for them to print it, before they could put it up. And then the day before it goes up, the mayor and the police chief announced that the Denver cops are not going to enforce minor traffic laws anymore. So expired license plates, equipment violations, they're not going to be allowed to do traffic stops on that stuff anymore. That was the day before the billboard went up, and I said, that's perfect timing for this.
Mm-hmm. I think it's great.
I think it is too.
Did you, when you put it up, were you anticipating that Denver would get as upset as they did?
I had an idea, not the cops. I know the cops would support it, and they overwhelmingly did. I got so many emails and calls from Denver cops and the surrounding agencies. But I knew the mayor would be mad. I knew it would upset the mayor because it was completely against all of the policies that they were trying to push.
Did you now when you put the billboard up, I think like within the same week you got 40 or 50 applications, right?
Yeah, we did. So yeah, I got some data here on how many we got. So I think so far we got 92 actual applications. Okay. 92 actual applications. Right now 48 of those are in background.
Wow. How many officers are you short, or deputies are you short?
Yeah, so we're short. Our department has authorized staff in the jail, 101 deputies in the jail, and 65 in patrol and detectives.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were short 10 in patrol, and we were short 20 in the jail.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yes.
it was, and we made last year. We really made some great improvements. So when I came into office, we were only about 60% authorized staff on the department. So we started a digital media campaign in Colorado, Denver area, that was pretty successful, and we actually hired 72 people last year in 2023. To get that, we had to process about 1,300 applications, actual applications, to get the 72 people.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but we were still short these 10 positions in the jail and 20 in the jail and 10 in patrol.
Mm-hmm.
So we thought we'd do some more. We were pretty successful out of the Colorado area, so let's really target that area, particularly Denver, with this billboard. And we also did digital advertising as well there with the same sort of messaging, which is work in a community where breaking the law is still illegal, was on our digital advertising as well. So we pushed it out to Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, anyone who did any kind of search, law enforcement related. Those are the folks that we targeted with that. And so as a result of that, we got 588 contacts where people wanted to be contacted by a recruiter.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And so that generated into the applications, just about 100 applications so far off of that.
Wow.
So, and
that's
in police recruiting, you got to reach so many people just to get someone to turn in an application. So we're pretty happy with the results. I think we're going to fill our patrol positions for sure. We got a lot of those applicants who wanted to work patrol, but they're willing to go to the jail side of things. So it's working out good for us. In fact, we're in the position now on patrol, which I've never really had in my career before, where if someone is just not filling out the background questionnaire in a timely manner, you can be like, you know what, we're going to go on to the next one. So if you're not fast enough, you're going to lose. So you better get that in quickly. So
that's a good problem to have.
Yeah, sure is. Yeah. We got a lot of laterals too from all over the country. So
that's really cool. I want to get into that too.
Yeah.
The tagline where breaking the law is still illegal. Did you come up with that one?
Yeah, I sure did.
That's so cool. That's like a hook to cops, especially from liberal cities, where you put out that thing where you say, hey, we still do police work here. We still send bad guys to jail. They actually go to court and they get sentenced for their crimes. It's not this catch and release thing that they do. Mm-hmm. So I think that if I was a cop and I was thinking of, if I was fed up with Denver, that would get me.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as laterals go, how does that translate from Colorado to Wyoming? Is it do you have post in Wyoming?
We do. Yep. As well as Colorado has post as well. And it's an easy transfer. So all Wyoming requires is that the amount of academy hours is equal to or more than what Wyoming trains. And in Wyoming, I think it's 13 weeks of academy. So if your academy is more than 13 weeks, you're good. And Colorado's is.
Okay. And so there's a good likelihood that if you're in a state that's, say it's longer than 13 weeks, that you meet the standards for lateraling to Wyoming.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Because
is there a testing process or anything then for those officers coming in?
Yeah. So what happens is a lateral gets a provisional certification, which is good for a year, which means they can actually start working. And then within that year, they have to go to the Wyoming Law Enforcement Academy for a 2-week class, which includes use of force and domestic violence. And then at the end of that, you do have to take the challenge test.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
there's a couple of things I want to ask you that I'm thinking about it. Is that when you put the billboard up, did you get any? Did anybody from Denver call you and to whine?
Oh no, not to whine. The only whining I saw was from the mayor in the media. I had cops, Denver sheriff's deputies. Actually, a couple drove up just to get a picture with me to say, "I want to meet the sheriff to put this sign up." Finally, someone said what we wanted to say for so long, and so yeah, but yeah, nothing negative at all except for what I read in the newspaper from the mayor. Yeah.
Well, from the news stories that I saw, I think some of the news channels were kind of upset the way they were reporting it.
Yeah, there was one news channel for sure was pretty liberal spin on it.
Yeah.
But in fact, the couple Denver cops called me and says, "So how did you know to pick that location?" I'm like, "I just picked the cheapest location in Denver, and that was the company couldn't sell any advertising on that particular billboard, and so they gave it to me at a pretty good discount, which was $2,500 for a month. They normally charge $8,000 a month.
Yeah,
and so that was just the cheapest spot. And oh, okay, so it was just by luck then that you put it right over the Denver PD gas pumps?" I was like, "Yeah, I didn't even know that until you just told me."
Oh, that is so great. And you know what's interesting is there's nothing they can do about it. But I think that's great. This whole thing is really good, and we have a mutual friend that is doing the same thing in California, out of Colorado.
Oh, okay.
And
All right.
so
Okay. Yep.
yeah, and
Good.
I think that's just ripe. I mean, if you have a state or a city that's in the news all the time for just not supporting the cops and things, and you put a billboard up, that's just going to be, that's the easiest recruitment tool that you can have.
Yeah.
And I think it's great. While I'm thinking about it, is that some of the things about Colorado that obviously they're a very liberal state, and they're having their own issues with their politics and things. And one thing that I don't like about Colorado is, didn't they just get rid of qualified immunity?
They did at a state level. Of course, you can't get rid of it for federal lawsuits.
Yeah.
But for a state lawsuits, yeah, they got rid of it. Yep.
So I think if you wanted to get rid of cops, just get rid of qualified immunity, and then send them to a state like Wyoming that has it. And I think that's probably one of the best things that you can do. I want to get into a little bit about Laramie County and the pay and benefits, and what's the great thing about working for the county. Before we do that, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
PoliceBackground.net is the premier background investigation prep site, with veteran investigator Ken Roybal, who spent 16 years conducting over 1,400 LAPD backgrounds. For more information, go to PoliceBackground.net. Now, back to the Police Applicant Podcast.
So one of the big draws for any police department is the quality of life and work-life balance for the police departments that you're working for and things like that. And Donovan and I are really, one of the big important things to us is mental health for law enforcement. And part of that thing, a buddy of mine who runs a resiliency project, Nick Wilson, has to do with PTSD and like that. One of the things that he coined, or I don't know if he coined it, but I heard it from him, is called leadership betrayal. And it's one of those things where your department can contribute to the officers not liking working there. And in looking at your YouTube stuff, you just seem like a really hands-on sheriff. You seem like the sheriff that goes in and says, "Hey, let's go grab some chow. Let's go, you guys want to hang out and talk about the job and things like." Is that the kind of leadership style that you embrace?
It sure is. And the command staff I selected, I brought in the undersheriff and the two chief deputies. Same philosophy. We like to get out there and have fun and get the job done. And so one of the things, like I always try to make the first DUI arrest of the year.
Wow.
And so, yeah, like this year, 2 minutes after midnight, I sure enough made the first DUI stop and made the first arrest. So just things like that. I go out, I'll work in a pod and come in at midnight shift and go in and work in a pod with the deputies. Just, I find out so much that way. Things that normally they would never tell someone from command staff, but when you're sitting right next to them, they feel like they can trust you, And so I find out things that need to change, make things easier for the cops to work, whether it's in the jail or out on patrol. So I really enjoy that.
Do you have more of an open door policy for your troops?
I do, yeah, except, chain of command is really important. So
Right.
if someone will come in and tell me something that, I always say, "Hey, thanks for letting me know, but please tell your sergeant or your lieutenant, and make sure you bring that up through the chain of command." Because we don't want to take that, those other ranks too, they want to try to have an opportunity to fix that situation as well. So, yeah.
Right. And that's important to do that. That's something I know a lot of supervisors struggle with, is that when they jump that chain. So,
yeah. I think it's important the chain of command is important, and then also that your leaders are approachable, and I think that's really important. I think the personality of a law enforcement agency is the top person, and I learned that a long time ago at LAPD, and the most recent chief that left there, and the department just really took a nosedive, and they can't keep up with recruitment. Their department is losing officers in droves, and it had to do with the leadership. And I think that's very, very important. So let's talk about Laramie County's recruitment efforts and what's the testing process like. I know that you had a YouTube video where it just showed the whole PAT, the physical agilities testing. And that looks like you guys don't mess around with that either. And so if I want a lateral or as a new hire to Laramie County, what are the steps that I'm going to take?
Yeah. So if you're a lateral applicant, then so you fill out the application, we'll do the interview process. And if you're from out of state, we can do it over Zoom. We'll do the interview process. If that looks good on the interview, then we'll send you right into background with that. And you fill out, the personal history questionnaire, and then an investigator's assigned. And then at some point, when we feel like, everything's looking good, then we'll tell you, you can pick the date to come to Cheyenne to actually do the polygraph, the physical exam, the fingerprinting, and the psychological test, possibly, but we can do that online too with our doctor, so you don't have to be here in person. But get those things done. We'll schedule it so you can do it all in one day. Get that all done in one day, and then hopefully all that comes back good, and you'll get a start date. We actually don't do physical testing for laterals. We kind of rely on the doctor's physical assessment that you can do the job.
Right.
For laterals, yeah. New applicants, we do. If you're a brand new applicant with no experience, we'll do the physical testing, which is 1.5 miles, push-ups, sit-ups. I think it's 40% Cooper standards is what we require, because that's what the Wyoming Law Enforcement Academy requires on day one. When you go to the academy, you have to pass those physical fitness standards. So of course we test it before we hire someone to make sure they can do that. And that's for detention or patrol. It's the same job here. Whether you work in patrol, you work in detention, same pay, same uniform. Training's different, whether you work in patrol or detention, but same pay, same uniform, same retirement system, which is 20 years here in Wyoming.
Okay.
20 years, you get half of your salary, which includes overtime and off-duty jobs as well.
So, I feel like you guys still believe in standards for your background investigations. Donovan's laughing at me.
Oh yeah, for sure we do. Yeah.
Because we track the news on all the police departments and how they're lowering standards because after 2020 recruitment has been difficult for police departments, and so what a lot of cities and counties are doing is they're lowering the standards so they can beef up their numbers, and some of that stuff's coming back to bite people on the butt because they lowered the standards and then the cops do something bad, and then they go back and check the backgrounds. But as far as your standards go, you're still pretty old school as far as you want good deputy sheriffs that are quality people.
Yeah, that's absolutely. I mean, just look at the amount of applications we go through. We're higher about what 6 to 7% of people who apply. So we got to go through a lot of applications to find the right person. But I'd rather go short than hire someone that shouldn't be a cop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just one of the things that people think about are their families and bringing up their kids in areas and like that. I'm curious what's Wyoming like? How big is Wyoming, and what's Laramie County like to live there?
Yeah, so Wyoming, well, it's the lowest populated state in the union. So we have about just a little bit over 500,000 for the entire state. So I mean, there's more antelope, in Wyoming running around the prairies than we have people. So you could drive an hour before you get to another town in some parts of Wyoming. So in Laramie County here, we're the most populated county in Wyoming. We got just over 100,000 population here in Laramie County. But what we have that most of Wyoming doesn't have is we are close to Fort Collins. We're only about 8 miles. Well, actually, my county borders Colorado. So we go right up to the border of Colorado. And so you're looking at, a 40-minute drive to get to Fort Collins, maybe an hour, 15 minutes to get to Denver. So if you want to go to the sporting events, Major League Baseball, football, and all that, that's pretty close to us. But yet, if you live here in Laramie County or in Cheyenne, Wyoming, you don't have the traffic congestion. You're not going to be sitting at a traffic light for 2, 3, 4 cycles of the light before you get through it, like you are going to be in Denver. And so so I remember when this thing came out with the Billboard, the mayor was like, "Oh yeah, but our cops make $20,000 more a year than your topped out deputy." And I'm like, "Yeah, but you consider cost of living. You can buy a house here with 10 acres of land. You can have horses. Never afford that in Denver. There's no state income tax here, and we don't have any traffic issues, And our cops get a take-home car. They get to take them home. We even let them, just to show you the culture that our community has to support law enforcement. Our community said, we want our cops driving their police cars off duty for personal reasons. So our cops are allowed to take their police cars when they're off duty. As long as they're not drinking alcohol and they're staying within the county, you can use your police car. So,
wow.
Yeah, we allow our cops to work out on duty. You get an hour a shift to work out on duty. Same with our jail detention deputies. We have a nice gym. Right. It used to be when I started as sheriff, we had a gym for the inmates. No. So we turned that into an employee gym. So now right in the middle of the jail, there's all this weight equipment and it's for the employees to use, not the inmates. So that's more important.
What shifts do your deputies work? They work in 8 hours, 10s, 12s, what?
Yeah, they're working just a little bit over a 12-hour shift a day.
Okay.
So our patrol and our jail deputies, they work 43 hours a week is their standard work week.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Do they
starting pay is about, with that 43 hours, it's about $58,000 a year.
Okay.
$58,000 a year. And so a topped out deputy makes about $82,000 a year. And that's just base pay, and there's plenty of overtime opportunities, of course, like anywhere. And then, of course, yeah, you get your take-home vehicle. We issue all the equipment you need, your rifle, your pistol, uniform, everything you need, we give it to you, so you don't have to buy anything.
But that's salary, that's Wyoming money. That's not Denver
Yeah,
money.
that's Wyoming money. Yeah.
Right.
So, like for last year, we hired. So in 2023, I hired someone from Denver County, which is Adams County, someone from Jeffco County, and then someone from actually a Denver cop as well. And all three of those said they made much more there. They probably made close to 100,000 or so working in Denver area. And coming here, they said they have more money in their pocket, so they could buy a better house. But at the end of the day, they have more money that they can spend here because the cost of living is a lot less here.
Yeah, I experienced the same thing when I brought my California money up to Washington. There's no state income tax, and I bought a house that was probably $200,000-300,000 less for the same house in California. So that makes a big difference.
Yeah.
But the thing that really gets, I mean, that's the draw. I think people look at the pay and they go, oh, pay, blah, blah, blah. Go look what I'm making here. And then I'd say, check your finances, because look what you're paying in Denver or Colorado. Right. Taxes and all kinds of stuff. I think that makes a big difference.
Not only that, how long are you driving to work to get your car, after briefing? When I was a Mesa cop, in Arizona, I'd have to drive almost an hour to work, an hour home in my POV. Yeah.
Right. That's a way of life in some areas. And and which brings me back to Donovan, the whole mental health wellness. That's such a big deal nowadays that police departments are paying attention to it now. And part of that is driving to work for an hour. I used to drive an hour and a half because I didn't want to live anywhere near LA. And I used to drive an hour and a half, but boy, if it rained or there was a traffic accident, that was miserable. But I sucked it up and I did it because that's what I had to do to work there. But I believe that it sounds like Wyoming and just Laramie County, the way you actually support your cops, and that goes a long way towards them. I've talked to police officers, and I've talked to them, and they said, I am physically ill. I do not want to go to work. But that's not Laramie County.
Right. Yep. Yeah, I think the community here supports you too, and that's really important. Do you like coming to work? And if you do, you're going to make it 20 years or plus, more than 20 years. And when you retire, you're going to enjoy your retirement because you're not going to be so stressed out, when you've been on the job, working in an area that really doesn't appreciate what you do. So.
Right. So, I mean, you're pulling in big numbers from your recruiting efforts. And there's so many departments who are using signing bonuses and all that kind of stuff for laterals, even for entry level, especially on the West Coast. Is that something you had to do, or are you doing this without any signing?
No, we implemented a signing bonus as well. Okay. It's $8,000 for a detention deputy and $5,000 for a lateral for patrol.
So I guess what I'm used to, you're doing it without a signing bonus, because we're used to out here, on the West Coast, we're talking 20, 30, 40,000.
Okay.
To come up. Even for entry level, they're talking, 10,000, 15,000. So, I mean, to you, I think there's a lot of people that need to look at what you're doing, what you're offering, how you're backing your officers. I mean, you have the benefit of having the community support you, but I mean, I applaud you for what you're doing with the numbers you're bringing in. I think most chiefs and sheriffs would pay whatever you're paying for recruiting efforts and try to mimic it so they don't have to pay these ridiculous signing bonuses.
Oh, yeah. Good point. At the end of the day, I question whether or not the signing bonus is worthwhile. But talking to some of our new hires, they appreciate it for the moving expenses. So that helped out with that. So,
yeah. Those signing bonuses, a lot of times the people, they go, oh, look at all this money. But it was funny because a couple of years ago, Seattle PD had a $15,000 signing bonus.
Yep.
But they couldn't get anybody to apply.
Yeah.
And the way they're getting that money is they're taking it from the cops that aren't working there anymore, and they're putting it towards signing bonuses. but these are desperate moves. When you see those big numbers, they're not just come work for us because we're so amazing, and plus we have this big signing. No.
Right. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So when I took office, of course, morale was really low, and that was a big thing. You know, we had to change that in order to be good at recruiting, because you know what's going to happen is any applicants are going to talk to someone who works here, and the employees are going to say, "Don't waste your time here. Go to that agency. They have good leadership or whatever." That's the number one thing that's going to tear you down is poor leadership, poor morale. And so we had to fix that. Was the first thing we had to fix. And now we're doing good. So every year the county does an annual survey with the employees.
Mm.
And this is the first year we've gone into the green. So
Wow.
Nice.
comments from employees. It's never happened before. So, and I think that's really starting. Our momentum got us going, where the employees are your biggest recruiters too. They go out
Mm-hmm.
and sell the job and get their friends to come on.
Is there any incentive for them from the department if they bring someone into the department?
Yeah, they get a $1,500 bonus.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right. That's not bad.
Yeah.
A lot of times, and nowadays, a lot of times they'll say, "Hey, you should go check out so and so because they're paying this much money," and these departments can't get an applicant to save their lives because of leadership.
Right. Right.
Yep.
So you could be dangling that carrot of money, and then you have to look at where you're living, the cost of living, taxes, all that kind of stuff, and then all of a sudden that big salary is cut in half.
Mm-hmm.
But the second thing that I always hear about, once they see what the pay is, and then they always come back to that department's terrible to work for.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
but it sounds like you've managed to turn that around in a year and a half.
Yeah. I mean, not me. It's everyone working here. So we started we call it employee-led committee. So different employees from different parts of the organization, they come together on a monthly basis, and just, you know, I give them the full authority to fix what you want. So they don't have to go through the chain of command or anything. They can just report right to me if it's going to be a budgetary thing or whatever. But I give them full authority, like just fix it. But if you need to change something in the agency, change it. So, yeah.
Donovan,
And that's
this
really
is-
made a lot of positive changes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
This is very foreign to me, Donovan. It sounds like the sheriff appreciates his employees.
Yeah, that's another foreign concept to me as well.
Well, Sheriff, you came from Colorado, from a couple different agencies. Well, you came from Colorado and from Arizona, so you're very familiar with how all that works. And so, did you learn from bad policies how to be a good sheriff?
Well, yeah, I think I did. You know, just doing the opposite of what the previous sheriff did is good.
Can't go wrong. If it was bad, you might as well just try the other way, right?
Right. But no, you know, I was fortunate. I came from a really good department in Mesa, Arizona. I really enjoyed that agency. I thought they were really forward thinking in everything they did. They still are. In fact, I think that agency's produced more police chiefs than any other agency that I know of. And then I went to Colorado, and again, we had to really reform that department too, completely change everything about it. Now they're accredited, great agency, great police chief they have now. So I've been lucky in my career. I haven't really experienced too much bad leadership. You get some examples here and there, but I really have been fortunate to model really good leadership in what I do.
That's really
From
cool.
previous leaders I've worked for. Yeah.
What are the retirement benefits for your deputies?
So it is a 20-year retirement. You get at 20 years, you get half of your salary and overtime expenses. They figure out your top years from a 5-year average. Your highest 5 years is what Wyoming does. And then you can stay past the 20 years. I think you get 2.5% of your salary increase. I think it tops out at 80%, which would be 30 years of service.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's not bad at all. And as far as medical in retirement, do you guys have that?
No, Wyoming does not offer medical.
So they need like a gap, uh, maybe a gap to either get another job if they decide to retire, or go wait till closer to Medicare, get a gap job for that.
Yeah, that's true. Yep. Yep.
Well, that's cool. Well,
So,
that
yep.
sounds like a great pension, though.
Yeah, I think so. It is good. Um, I was lucky when I left Arizona, it was a 20-year pension as well. And since I've left, that's changed. I think they've put in an age requirement, and now it's 25 years minimum in Arizona. So, but Wyoming is still 20 years, so that's good. In fact,
Yeah.
this year I know the counties do have to kick in more money to make sure the retirement is sound in the future. So,
I just got a message that Donovan's modem is rebooting, so he'll come back in a minute.
okay.
Computers. Um, well,
So
it's
you came from LA. We do have a couple applicants from LA that we're processing right now. So
oh cool. Yeah,
yeah.
I spent 23 years with LAPD and then 12 more years as a background investigator. So I was there for 35 years,
Oh,
and
okay. Yeah.
so
Uh,
I hot-tailed it out of there as soon as I could.
yeah.
But
Of the applicants we got, we most came locally from Wyoming. So 86 from Wyoming. We got 40 from Colorado. Nevada, we got 5. Arizona, we got 5. California, we got 9. And Nebraska, we got 8. So those are the top states that this latest campaign we've been recruiting from.
yeah, that it sounds like with you're right. As far as you could get 100 applicants and only a few of those pan out to actual deputies, but it sounds like your recruitment campaign is doing really well. What's your recruitment unit like? Do you have recruiters, and do they double as background investigators, or are those two separate units?
Two separate. So our recruiters are, full-time deputies, and then when we have recruiting events, they'll jump in, and we got a team of people we take from. Our background and our hiring unit is, we only had one when I started, and then we increased that to right now we have 5 in the unit. So I was lucky. I had a couple Mesa cops moved here from Arizona, and I was able to offer them a job to be our background investigator. So I have 2 full-time background investigators
Oh, that's
now.
good.
Yeah.
That's good. We just did an episode on that a couple of weeks ago. We were talking about background investigators, and I think it's important that the background investigators, that's their job. Instead of pulling them in from patrol or somewhere else and say, "Hey, do this," or "You're light duty. Hey, be a background investigator." I just don't think that's you get the same quality. But it sounds like you're doing everything right. Do they have to, when either a lateral or a new hire, when they get hired, do they have to work X amount of years in the jails?
Uh, if you're a lateral, no, you can go right into patrol if you're a lateral. If you have no experience at all, it used to be you had to do 2 years in the jail, minimum of 2 years in the jail. We switched that so that every May we test straight to the street. So anybody can apply off the street to test for patrol. And that's the time too, people working in the jail can apply to work in patrol as well. So there's no more 2-year minimum. You just have to wait till May to test straight to the street.
Okay.
Whether you're working in the jail or you're coming from outside the agency, we test everyone at that same time.
And when you are a new hire or lateral, do you still have FTO, and how long is the FTO?
Yeah, so we do have the FTO for patrol, I think, is 14 weeks. And in the jail, I believe it's 8 weeks for FTO. Now, if you're a lateral, it could be faster than that, especially, so for example, I think we took 5 or 6 people from the local police department here that came on board when I first became sheriff. And their FTO process, I think, probably was like 5 or 6 weeks, because they already know how to book someone. They know we use the same computer system as the police department, so that was fast, an easy transition. But if you're coming from outside the area, it might be close to a full FTO program, but it could be faster if you transition through it quickly.
Before I forget, I want to put your website up for your recruitment. Let's see here. So it's going to be lcsowy.org for recruitment. So they can get a hold of your recruitment unit directly and tell them that you found out about them on the podcast.
Yeah.
So they get to go straight to patrol if they pass the test, and then they have the FTO. Now, does your sheriff's department, do you have one-man cars or two-man cars?
No, they're one-man cars.
And how big is the county area? What's the square mileage?
2,600 square miles.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
So do you have when your deputies are on patrol, do you have mutual aid from other agencies that come in to back up and all that?
Yep, we do. When I became sheriff, that was not a thing, but I did get mutual aid contracts with all the surrounding counties and the police departments within our county as well.
Oh, wow.
So now Wyoming is a funny state. They don't allow you do not have authority outside of your jurisdiction, outside of the area. Yeah. So like the city cops had no authority in the county at all. Another county next to us, their deputies had no authority in this county. So we fixed that with these mutual aid contracts. If you're a certified peace officer, you have full authority in the contracted area. So I allow the city cops to go into the county and get their job done. Just do your job. If you need to make a traffic stop in the county, go ahead, do what you need to. Same thing with the surrounding counties. Our deputies can go in there and get the job done. They can come into our county. So it's open now. So we fixed that.
So it used to be where if you left the county, like in a pursuit, you didn't have authority?
Hot pursuit was the exception. If you were in a pursuit, you could keep going. But other than that, you could not unless you got permission from that jurisdiction. So in other words, if I'm a city cop and there's a burglary suspect I need to go talk to that lives in the county, I couldn't do that unless I got permission from the sheriff. So we've eliminated that now. Now you can do your job.
Wow. That's in those large areas where there's a lot of square miles and you need to get on the radio and backup could be 30 minutes away or something like that. You need that mutual aid.
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
Good for doing that. Well, in closing, I have the question that I ask all of our guests, and your experience has been from 3 different states. And so 2020 was a game changer for police departments. So, and I get contacted by people all the time and say, I want to be a cop and I want to find out about it and things like that. And what advice do you have for people that still want to stay the course and become police officers?
Yeah, first of all, I tell people it's a great career. I've had so much fun. Continue to have just a great time. So I love my job. So I pursue it. I mean, even in these states that are, you see all these liberal policies and stuff. Well, I would say find a state where doing your job is going to be easier, and got to look for. I know new cops, they don't look at retirement benefits, but you've got to look at those things. So for example, Colorado doesn't have any retirement system, and so look for that kind of stuff. That's a big difference as well. And people always ask, what kind of education? I've been to college, but none of my college is related to law enforcement. So I would say do something that's not related to law enforcement, because on the job in law enforcement, we're going to train you what you need to know. So we don't put the type of education someone has over another type. It's like, you know what I mean? So yeah, so do what really interests you for your education, what you think could maybe be a second career when you retire. to help you get that career going, because you're gonna be able to have another career once you get out of law enforcement, or you can stay in it like me and keep going, which so but
So
yeah.
what's
So anyways, just have fun, do your research and find a good agency. Like you said, the history of leadership at that agency, I think, is one of the most important things as well.
well, I
Yeah.
think one of the big deals in law enforcement is leadership, good leadership.
Mhm.
And there are so many different examples of bad leadership, poor leadership. So you sound like you're one of the good leaders. That I'm sure there's a lot of good leaders out there, but you sound like you're one who really cares about your troops and your organization. So what's the future look like for Sheriff Kozak? Are you gonna is this gonna be a long-term thing for you?
Well, so I'm not quite halfway through my term, so still got another 2.5 years on this term. And so I probably will run again, just because the people that I've been hiring always ask, "Are you gonna run again?" And I tell people, "Yeah, I probably will." So I don't want to let them down, and like I said, I'm still having fun. And but my second term, I'll find someone who wants to be sheriff and
Mm.
make sure they're out in the front in the community and getting known, and so we can try to mentor them to be a good sheriff as well. So that's kind of my plan. So probably will do another 6 years. Yep.
Good,
Yeah.
good. Donovan, welcome back. Your power went out, huh?
We are having crazy windstorms out here, and my generator didn't kick in quick enough. So,
Well, welcome back. You're in time
Thanks.
for the end.
all right, excellent.
I was just asking the sheriff what it looks like for him, and
Mhm.
it looks like it's going to be another term, another 6 years. And I also mentioned that good leadership in police work is hard to come by.
Very.
So Donovan and I have many conversations about poor leaders, because those are the ones that seem to make the news. So,
Yes.
but yeah, it sounds like you did a good move for yourself,
Mhm.
leaving Colorado, going to Wyoming, and it sounds like you're happy.
Oh yeah, really happy here. So, and like I said, I never imagined myself wearing the brown. I've been a cop my whole life, and but sheriff is where it's at. I mean, you get to do what's right. You get, and you really don't care if, sometimes I go out working on the street and this and that, and I used to do that as chief too, and people say, "I want who's your supervisor?" I have to give them my mayor's name, but now it's like, sorry, it's me.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that's it.
That's
Nice.
awesome.
Other than, the 100,000 voters, but you can
Mhm.
try to call each of them if you want. But
I saw a YouTube video where it was just an arrestee going, "I want your name and your badge number," and the cop says, "Yeah, that's not our policy." he,
Oh.
he didn't give it. It's not their they just do that. But yeah, those types of I like I like that you guys still do police work.
Mhm.
That I'm sure your deputies don't have to watch their backs all the time, and
Right.
all these silly laws that come from the state capitol and all that. So that's really cool. I think Wyoming might be a really good place for our listeners and our laterals to look at.
Mhm.
Yep, and one thing I said, we increased our hiring unit, so we get the background now down. We're averaging 4 to 5 weeks to get a background investigation
Wow.
done. So that's our new hiring sergeant's goal, is have that done within 5 weeks, and he's been averaging about 4 weeks right now, so he's doing good.
Oh,
He's
That
doing
is
good. Yeah,
great.
that's awesome.
yeah. So
And
come on,
Donovan,
and like I said, come out and ride with our deputies, and you get to see firsthand whether or not you're gonna like it here. So we got a couple Denver cops riding this week. Yeah,
cool.
riding with our deputies. Yeah.
You hear
That's
that?
awesome.
You hear that, Denver mayor? Donovan, he has 2 background investigators.
Okay. All right.
That's I was telling him that you and I
Nice.
just don't like part-time background investigators, and I work SWAT and I also work backgrounds.
Right.
Like that. But
yeah, we got a volunteer as well. He's a retired commander out of Colorado Springs, Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
And he just approached and wanted, what can I do to help you, Sheriff? And I said, backgrounds. So he comes in twice a week.
Oh,
So 16 hours a week, like clockwork.
Cool.
Doing background for us. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, if you need anything from us, any resources from us, we're available to help you. If you need any promotion for any activities or things like that, let us know. We're always available. We welcome you to being part of what we're doing here and getting the best cops out there. So,
yeah, thank you. Thanks for what you're doing too. And, getting people motivated to be cops and just letting people know it's not as bad as you hear. You always transition into the new things. I remember when we switched from revolvers to semi-autos and everyone's like, oh, there goes law enforcement, Or when we got computers in the car, oh, there you go, Big Brother's watching us. Or you got GPS, Big Brother's following us around now, and then body cameras. But and you just get used to the changes. And now cops won't hit the street without a body camera.
Right.
They don't want to go out there without a camera. So we learn to adapt, and it's a fun job. So
that's neat.
Yeah.
Well, look for Donovan and my applications to come in, and Donovan, we need to go on a ride along and all that stuff. And
all right.
So
you can look for Ken's application. I'm sorry, I'm just not. I'm not going back.
Well, you can't seem to get retired yet, so
Yeah,
you've got
I know.
a lot going on.
Yeah.
Donovan does polygraphs. He works at the academy still. He said he was retiring, and that was a lie. So, but he's got his plate full with a lot of stuff. But I'm appreciative that he's still able to do the podcast with us every couple of weeks. So that's important too.
Yeah.
But Sheriff Kozak, thank you so much for being here. This has been a pleasure, and I'm excited for the future of your sheriff's department and your leadership, and God bless you and all the people that work with you. You're so fortunate to have leadership like yours, and it's quite refreshing from our regular the things that Donovan and I usually talk about. It's a really refreshing thing to hear you doing that.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Ken. Thanks, Donovan.
Yeah.
It's been fun.
Yeah. And so we will be back. This is going to be on YouTube. It's going to be on the podcast. We will be back in a couple of weeks.
Thanks for listening to the Police Applicant Podcast. We are the premier police background prep site in the U.S. and Canada. For more information on scheduling your police background consultation, go to policebackground.net. Also, please leave us a review on iTunes.